Welcome, everybody. My name is Angie. I am a psychiatric drug withdrawal consultant and a healing coach. Welcome to my channel. If you're watching from YouTube later, please hit subscribe if you can, because that's how we get the word out, or like, or press a comment. I like to answer all the comments. If you're watching from Facebook, please like the page. That's always fun. But I like to bring you conversations about people that I find extremely interesting, or who are working in the trenches of the deprescribing, harm reduction movement, and mental health care. So today I'm bringing you Dr. G. Do you want me to call you Dr. G? Is that cool?
Yeah,
That's what everybody
perfect.
calls you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Dr. G. She's formed her new practice. She just started Monday officially. It's called True You Psychiatry and Wellness, right?
Yep.
Awesome. It's awesome.
Yep.
So let me read her bio really quick. It's kind of long. Hang in there for me. But Dr. G is widely recognized. Well, Dr. Jennifer Giordano is widely recognized as Dr. G. She's a psychiatrist who uses a holistic approach to help those who want to take an active role in their own health and avoid, decrease, or stop using psychiatric medications. She saw the major gap in the medical community and the underlying understanding of psych med tapering, and wanted to help fill it, which grew into working one-on-one with hundreds of people navigating the tapering terrain. Amidst the rampant use of psychiatric medications, Dr. G believes people deserve to know their options before considering mind-altering medications. She guides patients to safely come off psych meds through expert holistic mental health care and a common sense approach. She specializes in creating individualized, gentle, and slow tapering. Her commitment to understanding the intricacies of human well-being and mental suffering led her to spending 1.5 years in India studying the Eastern and yogic approach to ultimate well-being. She underwent an intensive yoga and meditation teacher training conducted by a world-renowned yogi, after which she taught programs for well-being and inner transformation across India and North America. Dr. Giordano's educational background includes a degree of IO engineering from the University of Michigan in 97, followed by attainment of her Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine from Michigan State University in 2003. She completed her psychiatry residency at Henry Ford in 2010. With 17 years of holistic health experience, Dr. G's aim is to help people be as healthy as possible, as naturally as possible. She offers in-depth education to each person she works with about mental health treatment options, encompassing both natural and medical approaches. What do you think that's a lot. What do you think? What have you been through? That's a lot.
Yeah, I'm sorry I made it so long.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a road, and it's funny because every so often I tell my husband, I'm like, I love getting older because when I look back, it's like the pieces of the puzzle make so much more sense than
I
they
agree with
ever did when
you,
I was going through them. I was like,
right?
what the heck? And that like feeling of lostness and like, what's the point of this? And what's my relevance in the world? And I felt that so many times along the way,
Mhm.
especially like during my medical training, during med school. It was like, I was so disillusioned, like what is this? What did I get myself into? Then during residency, similarly, like what the heck? And then psychiatry, it was just not what I had thought it was going to be. And then I didn't know, like, how do I fit into this world with my own personal values, I would say. And
Mhm.
ultimately the thing of like do no harm, right? Like holding that
Yes.
as the highest.
Yes.
Um, how did that fit in with being a psychiatrist? And I would say now, at this stage and phase of my life, it was like, oh, okay, I see how I really can use this for a level of good that makes sense to me,
Yes.
and to help educate, raise awareness, support the people who aren't being listened to,
Mhm.
um, who aren't being believed, who are struggling out there alone, trying to figure out their mental health and being given all kinds of different strange advice about it. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so it's been a journey.
Speaking of the
To say the
spiritual
least.
aspect, though, I don't talk about spirituality a lot, but I wish I could more. But I do with certain people that are open to it. But doesn't it feel like the universe was taking care of you and supporting you the whole time, but you didn't even know it because it all makes sense now? Do you have that?
I
I
have
have
that
that sense.
exact feeling. And I have that exact feeling. And sometimes there'll be things that will happen and it'll be like, okay, I totally get it. The universe is just absolute love and support. And then a fresh thing will come up and I'll go back into the fear, like back into the response of like, oh my gosh, is it going to work out? Like, what's going to happen? Like, is this going to be okay? And it's so weird because time after time, I'll ask myself, like, when am I going to get it? The universe loves you.
Got you.
It's
Yes.
got you. That it is, it might, there's always that point where I'll like hit, like just feel panic, like, oh my gosh.
Well, I think because we're working in a, I mean, let's just bring it practical level. We're working in something that's very new, misunderstood. People call us dangerous. Like, what are you doing? And there's a sense that you have to be bold and not be so afraid to do something that's right because you are on the right side of history. Like you just
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
think that can be scary sometimes. Like, I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? Angie, you're going to get in trouble. And it's like, no, it's okay. It's okay. You're doing the right thing, you know?
yeah.
Oh, it's scary though. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
yeah, I hear you
I
on
love
that.
that.
And that hit me a lot, I would say, in the beginning when I was first starting to kind of even just consider this whole thing of like helping people taper differently or helping people taper.
Mhm.
It was because it's so drilled into you
Mhm.
with so much fear-based kind of dogma about, medications are the only answer and don't mess with them. And um that's the only safe thing is for someone to be medicated for the rest of their lives, and to explore that with an open mind,
Mhm.
to me at this stage feels more like just pure common sense. Now after now seeing so many people, I mean,
Yep.
I can't imagine how many people you've seen,
Mhm.
and now it feels more like a common sense thing of like, like sometimes I will fear, like, yeah, or just have that feeling of, wait, I'm going against the flow, but we're not, I don't feel it's going against the flow of common sense and
No.
listening to other human beings.
Well, it's self-determination. Like if a person says, I want to see what I'm like without meds, who are we to say no? That's
Exactly.
their body, their mind.
Exactly.
Like let them do what they want. If I mean, I know it's scary because you're like, okay, but maybe this isn't, it's not up to me. That's what they want. I
Hmm.
have to honor them and their own self-determination. But let me say something because I know my audience is going to freak out based on what we just said, because I think my suffering helped me be able to help the most difficult cases in our community because I went through it. How would I know how bad it can really be unless I went through that? So am I grateful that I went through it? No, but I use that to help me help others. So I just want to say that because I don't want them to think I'm all woo-woo about withdrawal. No, it's a horrific experience
Yeah.
that nobody should go through, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Same. And
Okay.
I love your sensitivity to that. And exactly the same. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And I still feel that somehow our experience of life as humans on some grand level is based in an intelligence that has an essence of benevolence.
Yes.
How that shakes out, though, there's wars, there's
Oh,
crime, there's
yeah.
exploitation, there's violence, there, all that stuff. I don't,
Mhm.
as a human, I realize I can't make sense of that. I don't
Mhm.
want it.
No,
I
it's not fair. It's not
it's,
fair in a lot of
yes,
sense, you know? Oh,
yes.
okay. Well, let's go back to the my little bullet points, but this is how the whole conversation is going to be for you guys watching. So just buckle your seatbelt. All right. Okay. So first things first, what drew you to psychiatry in the first place? Like how, even when you say, when I read your bio and you talked about the struggle, like even me sitting in a classroom when you're like, excuse me, what is anybody else hearing this? Like, this doesn't make sense to me. Like, so tell me about your draw towards psychiatry and practicing this kind of medicine. What was
Yeah.
that like?
A couple of things. One was when I was like doing my residency, rotations and stuff, and in the hospital and clinics. I started to notice that it's one thing to struggle physically, like if you broke your leg or some physical ailment or whatever, but I kind of noticed that some people, their rooms you would go into, and maybe they would even have like some kind of paralysis or like, just really tough things physically. There's still something in them that would look happy and bright. And it started to kind of dawn on me. I was like, wait a minute, quality of life can still be there, even if the physical is failing, you know. It, and then to see people who are struggling mentally and emotionally, I think that's the worst. I mean, or I think if we struggle mentally and emotionally, there's a level of suffering that comes with that, that is,
Mhm.
you know, just difficult, dark, lonely. Um,
Mhm.
and then also the other piece of that is I had my own mental health struggles when I was late teen, early adult, was sitting in the organic chemistry class, like, and literally, like, I went to a big state school, so 1,000 people in the class,
Mhm.
and I had my first panic attack.
Wow. Wow. Oh my
And
God.
I literally had to leave the room. And I think there was at least two emergency room visits of panic and not knowing what was going on with me. And then there was a whole kind of, for me, a whole journey and walk of recovery and finding my way out of that years afterward, which included trying Prozac and trying Xanax. Um, and so when people say what their experience is of going on it and feeling it, it's like I can relate and understand that. And
Mhm.
then that was
Yeah.
a driving force for me to really, my own anxiety was a driving force, like suffering usually is for most of us, to find
Yeah.
relief. And
Yeah. Find answers.
everywhere I went for that, like, I did crazy woo stuff, and all the way to the medications, to, supplements, diet, hours and hours of meditation and yoga and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
then I learned a lot about all the different things that can affect our well-being,
Yeah.
and ultimately finding my own kind of peace in that, and then
Mhm.
of course naturally you want to help other people. If you come to
Yeah.
some sense of relief, you're like, hey, let me help other people.
Mhm. I
So
love that. I love that. It makes me think of the root causes of mental distress. So what is your opinion about that? Like, what is it? If it's not a chemical imbalance, then what is it?
yeah, I think for us as human beings, it's multifactorial, right? It's one the way we come into this world. I think, like, the way we're wired, our nervous systems, we're all, wired differently via our biology, our genetics, and then there's the nature part and there's the nurture part.
Mhm.
Everything we experience from you know our nuclear family, or those that were around the most when we're, developing as a child, to the
Mhm.
community and society you live in. I think that's monstrous in terms of the
Mhm.
impact on our mental health, especially like
Mhm.
all that blue zone stuff is coming out, and the
Mhm.
people who live long and people who are happy. And
Mhm.
I think we're complex creatures, and it's the reductionistic thing of, like, oh, it's a chemical imbalance in your brain. Well, now even science is proving that that's not accurate.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's complicated.
It is complicated. Yeah, I always think of like, well, it makes me a little upset because every year I'll scan the APA conference to see like, are they getting it? Are they getting it? Are they getting it? And I'll see like social determinants of mental health. So people in the audience, that means like what things in your environment could be contributing. So stress, oppression, racism, all these things could make you depressed or anxious. Um, illegal immigration where people are chasing you to get because you don't have papers, like that can breed anxiety, right? It's not a mental illness. But then in the same sentence, it'll say like try ketamine. I'm like, no, wait, you just said the social things can cause us to have distress. Wait, hold on, So it's like we're so behind. So that's why I'm always drawn to like holistic mental health, is
Yeah.
it looks at other things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Like your practice, like what is your perspective and how do you work with people?
So my perspective is the holistic approach. So we're going to talk about it all as much as we can. I mean, time limits us, but I really want to hear about it all.
Mhm.
What's going on in your life, your relationships, work, life situation, what have you been
Mhm.
through? And the medical piece. Yeah, let's look at labs.
Mhm.
Let's talk about, diet, nutrition, supplements, therapy. I really try to keep it as holistic and well-rounded as I can. I
Mhm.
mean, it's I can't spend hours and hours and hours with everybody. If I could, I think we could even do more stuff. It'd be amazing. But
Mhm. Yeah.
we really try to do the holistic approach. And then in the context of that is the tapering piece.
Mhm.
and different people find different things helpful and supportive. I try to just do a mega education about tapering from what I've learned and observed
Yeah.
and absorbed over the
Mm-hmm.
last several years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really keep it super individualized. I would love it. And when I first got started, I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Okay, let's just like schedule this percent every this number of weeks.
Doesn't work
Out
like
the
that.
window.
Nope. Nope.
Everybody's their own unique blueprint for how this is going to go. I put that in my website, and I say that you are the blueprint
Love that.
for your well-being. We're going to learn, and that was like the fundamental shift for me, like
Mm-hmm.
in the role of a doctor. It
Mm-hmm.
was the shift to learn from, listen to, and learn from this human being who I'm trying to help and support.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to take them as our cue for what's next, how fast do things go, what resonates with them as helpful and not. Some people are like, oh yeah, supplements, they've saved my life. And some people are like, not a drop, not a single
Mm-hmm.
one,
Right.
and respecting that and
Yeah.
appreciating that. I can't know your personal life experience from within you. Only you can know that. You are the expert in you. Nobody else will ever be a better expert in you. I can give ideas, resources, support,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but ultimately it's that
You.
person. It's you.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
even I think for on the patient client side, people that we're working with, that's opposite because we're so used to going to a doctor, you hand your body over, they tell you what to do, you do it. There's no questions, there's no conversation about it, informed consent, nothing. This is opposite. And I agree with you. The more I do this, it's like almost like the less I know because I'm just listening and you're observing thousands of people tapering and you start to see patterns. We'll talk about that in a second, but it's like, okay, I can't pretend to know what your nervous system could take in a taper. I don't know that. There's no way. And actually, the other person might not even know that. They might have an intuitive sense. They might, I mean, so I always feel like my job is to help people listen to their own bodies. Like that's my role. Like I help them talk about it, they think about it, but inevitably at the end, I'll say like, if you put your hand on your heart and you look down and just kind of feel into your body, what do you feel is the right thing to do? And they know.
They
I didn't
always,
have to tell them anything. They know. Even my tapering support circles, they'll say, Angie, I can't explain it. It's just like, I know when to make my next reduction. I just know. Some people are not, you can't feel as in tune because you're so clouded with anxiety and terror and all these things. But even then, there's still a sense. But anyway, let's talk about that. Like when you've observed thousands of people tapering over the years, or hundreds or however many, like what have you noticed? What seem to be some patterns or some things that have been good, some things that might be harmful? Like what have you noticed as far as patterns go?
yeah. I love exactly what you just said about a person knowing. And so just for one thing, what I've noticed is that it doesn't work nearly as well, or I really avoid doing it, of making any kind of reduction before that person can naturally say, I love that, like the hand on your heart, look down thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, I, I try to give them, and I try to guide them into helping them connect to that thing
Mm-hmm.
so they can identify when something feels natural. Like, and I tell them it should feel natural, not forced, not like we're trying to like get off this thing, and I just got to get this out of my body and I don't want to be
Yep.
on this anymore, because a lot of people come in hot. They come in hot,
Yes.
mentally hot, and I want to off
Yep.
this and hurry up, and I want, and
I call that bulldozing. Like this is not a bulldozer event. You're not going to bulldoze off your meds. No, and I said this last week. I'll say it again, but it's like this is rat poison. It's poisoning me. And yeah, if you go too fast, you're going to want to jump off a bridge. So we're not going to like it's a very delicate balance between I don't want this, but hold on, we got to do this safely. You know?
yeah, it is. It's always that dance. And a lot of
Mhm.
people, because they've struggled or suffered so much with withdrawal in the first place, it's like, let's be humane. I
Mhm.
mean, I'd say that's
Exactly.
like my number one goal is like, let's be humane to your nervous system, to your experience
Right.
of life. Like, I try to kind of these days, it's kind of gone into like, let's just put tapering to the background of your life so that it's not absorbing all of your focus, all of your energy, all of your
Mhm.
everything. Let's do our best to to help support you to do this, to help it go to the background of something, you're just kind of doing it, chugging along there, but you're able to focus on other things. So that's definitely something. Seems like smaller reductions are almost always better tolerated, you know.
What percentage would you say, and this is a in the weeds question, but for a range, the people that you're working with, what percentage are they tapering every month, let's say?
Yeah. On average, probably the range is between like 2% to 10%.
That's what I would say. 2 to 8. Yeah.
Yeah, once
Most
in
of
a
the people I work
way.
with.
Yeah, yep. Once in a way, a
Mhm.
medication is not like compoundable. We can't change its formulation whatsoever. And I tried everything under the sun to try to figure out how to get them
Mhm.
the dose they need, but some
Yeah.
are not, you can't. And so
Yeah.
that will drive the percentage up.
Mhm.
Um, and we just do our best with that. But it's funny, when I first got started, I was trying experimenting with like 15%,
Mhm. Too
even
fast?
even 10 now, like
I know, me too.
now.
10. Well, even a lot of, I hope no groups get mad at me, but a lot of the groups will tell people right away, 10%, 10%, every drug. And I'm like, you can't just look at that, because you have to take into account what is the state of my nervous system right now? Do I have support? Am I prepared for the tapering journey? Like, there's a whole lot of preparation that comes before you just start doing 10%. And for somebody that's not stable and maybe doesn't even know they're not stable, if they read 10% off the bat, that could really set them up for failure or for a hold for a couple of months, because they get so rocked. So a lot of people that I work with, they start like slow. They'll do like a 2% as a test dose. Like, how does my body handle that? Do I notice anything? Okay, then maybe the next month it's 3, and the next month it's 5. And then they're like, okay, I think I'm cool at 6. Like, that's my sweet spot.
Mhm.
Do you do anything like that, or
Exactly. Very,
exactly?
very similar. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Is finding the sweet spot, start low. I mean, and the thing about what percentage to start at,
Mhm.
what I find is it's definitely dependent on the person, what state they're in, what medication they're on,
Mhm.
and what dose they're taking.
So give me an
So,
example for like the medication that they're on. Are you saying like benzos need to be a little bit slower compared to antidepressants perhaps, or like what do you think?
yeah, well, certainly I find benzos can be more, I mean, they're different animals, is what I
Mhm.
would say, those two classes of medication.
Mhm.
Or like, for example, if someone comes in and they're on 4 milligrams of Ativan a day, can our percentage to start out with be a little higher? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they come in and they're working down on that last 1 milligram, let's start low.
Yeah.
And I like what you said too about like the person, are they stable or not?
Mhm.
I don't find it to, things don't go well unless you're stable first.
Yeah.
Typically, I'm not saying that's and
Yeah.
none of this is dogma, right? Because we're
Yeah. Yeah.
learning,
Yeah.
we're constantly, it's
Yeah. It's
like
very nuanced.
it's
Yes.
very
We're speaking in
nuanced.
generalities.
Yes,
Yes.
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 Um, and but these kinds of numbers or even concepts to me are so much closer to reality than the adage of, yeah, oh, just cut it in half for a couple of weeks and then cut it in half and stop,
Mhm.
which to many, many humans out there, that it can be life altering how
Right.
bad the
Yes.
withdrawal is over,
Yes.
trying to reduce Prozac or something.
Yeah.
Prozac is probably my favorite SSRI to taper because it has such a long half-life. It's so forgiving.
Mhm.
It just seems to go smoother than something like Lexapro.
Like, and Prestique is the bane of both of our existence.
Ooh.
It's the
The
worst.
SNRIs, I don't know how those got invented. I don't even know what to say
Hard.
about
It's
the
hard.
level of
It's so hard.
suffering that, and then
Yeah.
the difficult and challenge for people to come off the, I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, yeah, the Cymbalta Hertzworth Facebook group, 36,000 members or some insane, like, people are suffering and struggling. So it's,
So do you view it kind of like, because okay, I have a lot of the more um complex cases, the people that are really suffering, really sick, very dysregulated, can't very destabilized, And some of the advice going around is like, hold until you get stable. And some of these people are like, Angie, I can't. Like, it's not happening. I can't. Like, the suffering is so brutal. Some will choose to hold if they feel they can. And still at that, I think like you have to respect the individual's choice. Like that is their choice, whatever they feel like they need to do. So in
Yes.
those cases, it's to me, it's like they have this huge iceberg and they're just doing their best and they're chipping off when they can, what they can handle. And we're just
Mhm.
hoping for the best. You know, some of those people I have watched, they get better as they chip down. The pacing stops, you know, they do get a little bit of relief as they get lower, believe it or not. Some they get a little harder, and then it's like we don't know. I just had an interview with Mark Horowitz like 2 weeks ago, and I asked him this same kind of question, like, what do you do? And he's like, we don't know. And I was just so glad he said that because I'm like, we don't. And if you meet somebody that says they know, you better run because nobody knows. Like, I hate to say it, and it's just the reality. I'm known for not sugarcoating anything, but it's like we don't know. We're just doing our best. We're all trying to get off and trying to heal, and that's just what we have to do. And there's not a whole lot of science. There's no algorithm. There's no clinic to go to or outpatient program or inpatient or whatever. There's no amount of money. It's like I had to just figure this out and do it. And it sucked really bad. So I don't know. What do you think about like stability if you're really, really suffering? Because I have a lot of people like that, like really
Yeah.
suffering.
Yeah, same. Same. We don't know. I always take their, I mean, I always put them as it's their life. They're in the driver's seat,
Mhm.
you know? I mean, if someone came and they're like, you know what, I just can't hold, it's not happening, the suffering's too much. Yeah, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's start reducing, you know,
Mhm.
let's and see what happens. Because I think that's the fundamental thing. If there was one
Right.
concept or what if there was one reality I wish we could talk so much more about just as a community in
Mhm.
medicine globally, we don't know. We do not understand these medications. We really don't. And we don't understand the human being enough
Exactly
to
right.
fully
Mhm.
understand what the heck is going here. We, at best, we know, okay, if you give this medication, this kind of reaction happens for a certain percentage of the population.
Mhm.
You know, okay, make you feel more tired or sedated or whatever things. But what about that other percent of the population that it makes them totally disinhibited or super elevated or you know, and then yeah, I'm sorry, that's like a
No,
soapbox I
no,
could
it's
just stand
perfect.
on
No,
for a
it's
million
perfect.
years.
And I was just, it made me think of the question I want to ask you is, what do you think is going on? What is this injury? What is it? Like when you observe it and you watch it and you think about it and you read about it, what do you think is going on with all of us?
Something to me in observing it, you know, in repetition across multiple different humans is it to me it presents and looks a lot like a traumatic brain injury. Something gets injured in the brain
Mhm.
in some way. What that is, I don't know. We don't know. You know, if we had some Star Trek medicine and wave a wand and great 100,000 years from now or whatever, but it appears and looks like a brain injury. And so whenever you have that, you have to consider all the things that, you know, the implications of that for a human being and including the recovery time.
Mhm.
Recovery time from brain injuries is long. And other thing it also then is in a very like hypersensitive state,
Mhm.
kind of like you don't mess with it, don't mess with the person's biology, don't mess with the brain anymore. Let the body, which is so far in my understanding the most powerful mechanism of healing that we have, is the
Yeah.
body itself,
Yeah.
mostly trying to just support the body for what it's trying to do in the best way we can and or just get out of its way.
Mhm.
And then a lot of waiting, you
Yeah.
know, a lot of kind of waiting and but that's kind of my
I like that. My
yeah.
my my only other thought, I agree with you, and then I want to add something because I think I'm not, first of all, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor. I'm just curious and I just watch and I observe and I'm trying to learn. But to me, there's something going on where if you have 8 billion neurons in your body and there's a drug going in there in between nerve cells, and then we mess up that transmission, that is what we have, a transmission problem. And everything is super excited and going too fast and coming in too fast. And it's just like overwhelming. And the body's like, somebody yesterday described it as, I feel like I have static electricity in my whole body. It's just
Mm,
like static,
mhm,
whether that's from the brain or who knows where it's coming from. But that's the way I think about it, which is why I think we have so many weird symptoms. Like I have pulling sensations in my face and my brain is tingling and I feel burning on my skin. It's like that's got to be nerves throughout the whole body,
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I've all those same descriptions. The brain burning is a common one, but
Very
then
common.
also these like the peripheral nerve stuff, the things
Yeah.
like in my feet or hands or arm, like
It's
bladder,
crazy.
whatever, belly. There's a
Hmm.
lot of things that, and when you listen to people describe them, it sounds very much about some kind of injury to the nerve,
Yeah,
and so
I
then, yeah,
agree.
just similar, like you said, like then, okay, then same with the neurons,
Yeah.
just fancier nerves,
Yep. Yep.
so.
So what you just said made me think of like five things. Hold on, I'm trying to distill it down. Hold on, which one do I want to yank on? The first one I want to pull on is the body's ability to heal. Like I've watched it in my own body. I've watched people. I mean, that's the only reason I can stay doing this work is because I get to watch it all the time. Little things like people say, Angie, I just took my last bead of Effexor. I've been tapering this poison for 5 years. And then it's just a beautiful thing to witness. Or Angie, I'm looking at sunsets. Why didn't anybody ever show me that? I never looked for 20 years. It's beautiful. Why aren't people stopping in the street to see that? Like the awakening, the awe, the sense of like, oh my God, I got myself back. Like I get to watch this every day. I love it. But that is a byproduct of the body healing. And like you said, leave it alone. Leave it alone. My favorite quote, sorry, and then I want you to answer, but is nature heals, don't interfere.
Hmm.
And that's kind of how I feel about this healing process. So tell me about your perspectives on the self-healing ability of the human body.
Yeah, I think it's the most powerful thing we have. And if you think about it, it's beating our hearts right now, right? It's making the oxygen cross the bronchioles and into our capillaries, and it's making us think. It's making these words come out of my mouth. Am I sitting behind this going like, oh yeah, say this now and beat the heart a few more times? And no, there's some immense, immense intelligence running the show, and it's running our bodies, and it's designed to heal. I mean, you scratch something or get a little hangnail or whatever, your body heals it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I think, and I try to tell people, it was like in my routine with everybody's wellness plan is acknowledging that. Just want to tell you about that. This journey is about alignment and the acknowledgement of nature is the most powerful healing force that exists. So just to acknowledge that, we're going to do our
Mm-hmm.
best to support that and or get out of its way, and we have to respect its timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for nature to respect our timeline. I'd love for people to feel better overnight
Overnight.
and all
Yeah.
that stuff, but that's not how the system is built. And just
Mm-hmm.
helping to remind people, assure them.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love what you said too about you get to see those little wins.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly it's little until the
Mm-hmm.
very end, and then you're like,
Yes.
oh poop,
And
I'm
they say,
off.
see you later. I'm graduated. And then I'll say, wait, please, can you write a success story? Nope, I'm going to live my life. I never want to talk about this again. I love you, but I never want to see you again. I'm like, bye. See you later. It's the best. It's graduation. Bye. I love it.
Oh,
Love it.
that's fantastic. I can so
Wow.
relate to that. The peacing out when you're done, which is what you
Yeah.
want. It's like having kids, right? You're like, I love you,
Yes.
you're wonderful. Let me help
Go
you.
away.
I want you to be happy and healthy. And then they're like, yeah, okay, I'm good later.
Yep, it's good. I'm so happy. That's the best. And then I think we might get better outcomes than traditional mental health because people get their minds back, their lives back. It's such, and I'm not responsible for that. They are. I get to watch it and I get to witness it, and I find that to be a sacred thing. And I'm just so happy and proud, and just like it's a beautiful, like what better thing to witness? It's beautiful. It brings me to tears a lot,
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
lot.
me too.
Ugh.
Me too. And then
Yeah.
you just love, it's just I just love the people that I get to, get to work for. I
Mhm.
just, there's such a genuine love because when you get that closeness and intimacy and you're cheering
Mhm.
for them, you want their
Yeah.
freedom.
Yeah.
And the whole model, I mean, the whole medical model, I don't want to go to, you know,
Just say something. Yeah, we can talk about it
it's
a little
just
bit,
such a
but yeah.
mess. Well,
Mhm.
it's designed for dependency. I mean, you'll
Yeah.
literally, if I had a nickel for every time I heard somebody say, yeah, my doctor just kept prescribing it. Never asked, do you still want to be on this,
Mm-hmm.
Paxil? Do you feel like you still need it? A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people will go on a medication because it's situation based. And now more than ever, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
with the 1 in 6 of us being on a psych med, they're
Mm-hmm.
thrown out like candy all over
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
casually.
Yeah.
And then the design of the whole medical machine itself is not to support people for growth, their natural growth, evolution, and development.
Mm-hmm.
It's let me just keep going, let me just check the box and okay, nothing's broken, so let's just keep going and keep going,
Yeah.
and nobody ever stopping and asking them and saying, like, do you think you still need this? Is it still relevant to
Yeah.
you? And
Right. Like,
it's
how do you feel about taking these medications? You know?
yeah,
Yeah. It's not even
yeah.
asked. I know. I just did a CE application this morning and I was talking about this, like to inform healthcare providers to provide health literacy to their patients about choices in mental health care. It's like that's not even there's no choice. It's you go to the doctor, you take the meds, you don't ask questions, and then you come back a month later. Like that's the model.
Yeah.
There's no even choice involved, really. Maybe like, what did you see on TV yesterday? Do you want to take Cymbalta or Rexulti? Like what, that's about it. God, I
Yeah.
can't watch those commercials. But anyway. Oh, okay. So let me ask one question, and then I want to move on to like holistic things to help. But have you noticed any things while people are tapering, things that tend to make them a little worse, things that tend to help? Like, could you say any patterns like that?
Things that make it worse is abrupt changes, of course, just
Mhm.
big dose changes in the medication. Um, and this is tough for people, but a lot of people are going through this and expecting to function in the same way in their lives, like in their
Mhm.
work, or
Mhm.
even in their, like, chores around the house or caring for their kids. And a hard thing, I think, for some people is the recognition of the stress levels, how much they impact the process of
Mhm.
tapering,
Mhm.
and just the whole process of stabilization is, definitely can be supported by reducing one's demands on their energy and stress levels, because
Mhm.
their brain is working overtime
Yeah.
to try to heal and regulate itself. The whole body
Mhm.
it's trying to regulate itself again, and it's takes a lot of energy, and the expectation that things can just kind of go, oh yeah, I can still, work and do, and like
Mhm.
that can be I would say a challenging thing. Other things to make it worse. Oh, if there's not support around,
Yeah, I agree
or a
with
lot
that.
of time, like the people, if you have even therapists sometimes will be not so informed.
I just did a 3-part series on that on my YouTube channel because I say that part of my job is trying not to let people get further harmed. And there's a lot of gaslighting going on, especially around therapists and trauma therapists, or misperceiving like these person's symptoms or their trauma stuck in their body. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. Like, how do you know that? Like, did you ask them? There's a whole lot of that gaslighting stuff going on in the therapy world. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I so agree with that, particularly when you start throwing out the word trauma. And I've seen that go south for people,
Hmm.
as it destabilizing them enough to have to go back into the hospital.
Oh gosh.
So I am now extremely cautious. You know, it's yeah. I
Yeah.
kind of my viewpoint of that is evolving as
Yeah.
I learn more and see more, and I think yeah, it's a strange conversation that's out there, kind of about, healing trauma and trauma
Hmm.
that's in your body, and I understand, and horrible things happen to people, and part of our
Yes.
growth and evolution, yes, is facing those, and that's a complicated, sensitive process for
Hmm.
us as humans, and for one thing, it's not a cure-all.
Mhm.
Or I think there's this promise of like, if you just, quote unquote, heal your trauma, everything will be all right, and all your stuff will be figured out. And first of all, I would be even saying, like, what does that even mean exactly?
Yes.
Tell me what that
So
means precisely, because regardless, that thing happened in our
can't erase it.
lives, and
Can't
you
erase
can't
it.
erase it. And how do you relate to that in the present moment? And
Mhm.
um yeah, so therapy for me and is much more of a thing of like support,
Mhm.
kind of
Me too. Me
aspect
too.
of stuff. But
If there's a relationship with someone that you look forward to and they can hold space for you and love you while you're really hurting, that's enough. But if they go digging and they're pulling stuff up and it's making you worse, be careful, you know?
yes, 100%. I
I
would
feel.
agree with that thoroughly. But
All
I don't
right.
remember what the original
That's
question.
okay. That you
Oh,
answered it
things
perfectly.
that make
Oh,
it better.
but make it, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I want to go to. Well, let me say one more thing about worse is just when I see people like playing with their doses or they go to the hospital and they give them a bunch more meds, like that kind of on, off, up, down, stop this, add that. That is what I see make people worse the most. And then some gaslighting makes people worse. It's just really like stable out, make a plan, but it's a loose plan. Make sure you have support and a good diet and what other things are you doing? And then slow and gentle dance your way off, you know? That's kind of
Perfect. Exactly.
I'm so
Totally
glad
agree.
we have never talked everybody in the audience. This is why I wanted to talk to her because I'm like, are you seeing the same thing I'm seeing? Like I'm coaching and you're doing it from a prescriber's perspective. Like it makes you feel less crazy. Like, no, this is actually what's happening, you know?
It
I see
is.
it. I'm seeing it. And I'm just listening and watching and learning from so many and seeing the good stuff and the bad stuff and the love and the pain and all of it. It's amazing. Anyway,
Yeah.
okay. So let's
Yeah.
go to the good stuff holistically. What things would you say support the process of a person tapering, help people gain back their mental health? I hate even those words, but like what helps people? Let's put it like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Um, I think it's the myriad of things. I wish it was like, oh, if you just do this one thing, here's the magic bullet. And everybody
Yeah.
wants it. Everybody
Yeah.
wants the magic
If I could
thing.
sell it, we'd be rich, you know. No, that doesn't work like
Amen.
that.
Let me buy
Sorry.
stock in that because yeah.
No, yeah, exactly.
It doesn't. It
Mm-mm.
genuinely is the holistic approach. And it's about self-care, kind of the basics. I don't go extreme in any direction on any of that. Supplements, it's got to be what the person thinks. I will give recommendations. I do have some that I think I've seen people be helped by, or that they like, or seem to at least not hamper the process, or
Mhm.
but there's no one where I'm like, oh yeah, this is the thing. If you just supplement that, no such thing. And it's individual. Some people are so
Yeah,
sensitive that a supplement is not possible. It doesn't fit with their system.
yeah,
They're too
yeah,
sensitive even for
yeah.
something natural. Um,
Hmm.
nutrition, I do plug that one mostly for just
Me
nutrient
too.
content of the food, because
Hmm.
again, your brain's working
Yep,
hard, right? And it needs building blocks. Whatever it's doing up there, and
yep.
whatever all the nerves and all the stuff and the repair, your body
Hmm.
needs good fuel and building blocks to do that. So
Yeah.
I try to keep it simple, because diet's like a hugely complex topic. You could talk a million years about it.
Hmm.
It's People are so varied in their
Yeah.
preferences, but nutrients, I will try to just
Hmm.
say, hey, we just want to focus on making sure that you're getting plenty of nutrients, and I have seen that be helpful. Um, so yeah, if you had to open it out of a bag, or if it came out of a factory, let's try to work things
It has
closer
an
to
ingredients list, probably. Yeah. Stay away from the
yeah.
ingredients list. Just one
Yeah.
ingredient foods, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, that's me.
Yes.
I am the same
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Same way.
Yeah.
Um, what was I gonna say? Wait. You said something that I was gonna ask about. Oops. Oh yeah. What is your opinion? I didn't think I was gonna ask you this, but I am. What is your opinion about like GABAergic substances, like for instance, like ashwagandha, valerian, passion flower, and then some people try this 5-HTP for serotonergic stuff. Like, what do you think? Because my perspective is kind of like anything that can alter your mood, your sleep, your attention, your focus, whatever, that has the potential to either help you or hurt you. Because if you have a healing process going on and you go messing with that some system, I'm not really sure, but I see it backfire a lot more often than I'd like. So I don't know. What do you think that is? Or I don't know. Have you seen
Yeah,
that?
same. Yeah, I would say, and even something like ashwagandha, some people respond well to it. Some people have like an almost like the paradoxical or adverse reaction. It's stimulating, elevating, agitating, and you kind of got to
Mhm.
then be just realistic about that. I don't, the farther I go down this and the more I learn and see, I don't like going and messing in the 5-HTP, the even the tryptophan, or I used to
Yeah.
recommend
Yeah.
SAMe sometimes, but I'm really, I've
Hmm.
gotten a lot farther away from that. I
Hmm.
feel like more so over time, I've just really gotten simpler and simpler.
Yeah.
You know, kind of basics of, for some people, a high quality multivitamin can be helpful. Um,
Hmm.
s- y- Again, very individual. But yeah, I don't. L-theanine is one of my favorites for anxiety or for things, because it
Yeah.
seems to be so well tolerated. It's rare to
Yeah.
get an
I agree with
adverse
you.
side
A lot of
effect from
people see that.
L-theanine. Yeah.
Hmm.
Magnesium, I mean, it's like every other word out there now in the like holistic,
Yeah.
functional, whatever, seems to also be pretty well
Hmm.
tolerated, except for sometimes the GI effects.
Hmm.
Um, you know, the omega-3 fatty acids, and I'm more a fan of probably plant-based sources of that. But again, very individual. I've got some people doing it
Yeah.
using supplements, and some people are like, no way, I don't want to touch them. Not my
Yeah.
thing. But I would say honestly, like percentage wise, most of them are using some supplement of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
yeah.
what would you say is most common that across those people?
Um, Magnesium.
Me too. I would say magnesium and fish oil. Those are the
Magnesium,
two.
fish
And
oil.
every once in and a lot of L-theanine, but anything more than that, most of my people are not taking. No.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay, let's do. I have a bunch of questions coming in. So we have about 10 minutes left, and I'm trying to stay on time to be respectful for everybody's time. So let's do some questions. Okay. I understand that tapering is a special part of the treatment plan, and not all psychiatrists like to do it, but shouldn't they actually be obliged to become proficient in it? As a result of every prescription is a voucher to help I don't know what they mean, but I'm afraid that we are creating two kinds of psychiatrists, the prescribers and the deprescribers. So what do you
Yeah.
think? Like, what do you maybe what is your perspective on training or maybe this field emerging? I don't know. What do you think about that?
This is such a great topic. I'll try to not wax on about it because I could for a long time, but
Same.
um, I know how psychiatrists are trained. I was trained that way. I operated that way. And the culture, there's a certain culture in medical training.
Mhm.
Is very almost fraternal, because like residency, medical school and residency is almost like a hazing. It's so, if you weren't depressed or anxious by the before you started med school or residency, by goodness, if you look at the stats and see things, by the end of it, you will be. So it's what is done to the human being within their training culturally is to put them in an abject state of fear, fear of
Mhm.
questioning, fear of doing anything wrong ever, and fear of ever, you know, looking outside of the lines that have been drawn.
Mhm.
It's a very fear-based, in my opinion, a very fear-based culture.
Mhm.
So, and then within that, the actual content of what they are taught about psychiatric medications is first of all, I remember being taught you don't need to taper. Or if you do, for some people here and there, cut it in half for a couple of weeks and then cut it in half again and stop.
Mhm.
That's what they're taught. And the thing about medicine as an institution and medical training as an institution, it is a slow, I always felt like even the technology, the record keeping technology in hospitals was so behind.
Mhm.
Maybe the interventional or like surgical technology is up to snuff or in present day times, but the thing about it, there's some almost like it's just slow to adapt.
Mhm.
I think again, because it's like this paternalistic culture, it's very it's professional and it's very dogmatic.
Mhm.
And so, and the way you're also kind of trained mentally how to interact with patients.
Mm.
What I realize now is, and I thought I was all like good listener and trying to be sensitive and bull. I wasn't listening to people before. I wasn't. I mean,
Mhm.
it's now for whatever reason kind of just had that inner shift is I am learning way more every day than I'm actually being able to, say like, oh yeah, I know this and this is the thing that's going to
Mhm.
help you. I'm learning so much every day, every human, every person. I'm learning so much from those individuals
Mhm.
about what does well-being take,
Right.
and that is not even close to how we're trained as
Mhm.
physicians. You're trained as a one-way delivery. You're giving information down to that
Yeah.
person in front of
Right.
you.
Right.
And if you, I mean, the reports of what people hear in their appointments, how they're treated, people are
Horrible.
fired as a patient for wanting to
Yes.
taper.
That's patient abandonment. Yeah. Yeah.
What?
I've been fired myself. They told me I was treatment resistant, and I'm like, what do you mean? I'm doing everything you're telling me to do. How is that my fault? That's your fault. Your treatment sucks. Like,
Yeah,
but I was fired for that. Yeah.
it's mind-blowing.
It's
It's such a,
crazy. No,
again, the
and you're
culture.
like me. You get to hear all the stories of all the harm that is happening and what people. Let me just vent about this really quick. Maybe I'm sure you can relate, and I'll try not to get too fired up. But all this business about hold on, how do I articulate? Oh, doctors saying, I don't see this in my practice. This is not a thing. Listen, every person I've ever worked with in the last 2 years full time has told at least one prescriber, at least one. Out of 2,000 people in 2 years, only 3 people have been properly diagnosed with akathisia. Only 3 out of like 60 cases of it. Okay. I don't believe them. You can't tell me, because even you and I are sitting here watching patterns, listening, observing. You can't tell me they don't see this. I don't believe it. I just don't.
Mhm.
Or what in them is seeing it and then ignoring it or shifting it and saying, oh, that's something else. I don't
Mhm.
know. Do you
Mhm.
have any views on that? Because that's the one thing that gets me so upset. I just, oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Thank you.
Well, I again think it's very much the nature of the training, the culture that's bred into physicians. Because I also knew these people before when they were first starting out in med school, and they're all like doughy-eyed and want to help people. And
Mhm.
then I see what happens, and I know, by the end, the decade later, when you're coming out on the other end,
Exhausted. And,
what has
yeah.
happened,
Mhm.
and so I think that it's such a culture of non-collaboration. And that's probably just putting it very like,
Lightly
politically
political. Yeah.
correct.
Yes.
But it's such a culture of not listening, not believing this person who is sitting in front of you telling you their lived life experience. How can you, and I mean, and I saw it repeatedly in day after day about, I watched my attendings. I watched the people who were training me. And
Mhm.
then you watch them, you're like, oh, okay, that's how I need to act. That's how I
Yes.
need to
You're a sponge
think.
and you're taking it up. Yeah. I noticed
Yeah.
that in social work school. No, I would sit in class and look around like, are you, and they were just taking it all in and believing it. The one subject I remember the most was the dean of mental health was teaching a class, differential diagnosis. So we learned how to diagnose. And they were talking about schizophrenia and culture bound illness, where in other countries, people can hear voices and see visions, and that's okay. It's accepted. But in the United States, if you do that, that's schizophrenia, and you need to medicate those people, and they're dangerous. And I was like, did anybody hear that? Like, are you kidding me? That doesn't make any sense. If you fly on an airplane to one country, you're safe. If you fly to the other country, you're medicated. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Ridiculous, but it's sponges. We're in school, so you're a passive participant of information, and you're just taking it in, and you're not really taught to think about that stuff
yeah.
too much.
Yeah. Yes. I love all of that. Same thing. Like I walked into the psych unit. It was actually a separate hospital when I was in my training. I walked in. And I walked in and I was like, this is where you're going to have people who are struggling mentally. I was gonna write the CEO an email because I saw how things looked on a traditional medical unit.
Mhm.
I saw the colors, I saw the sunlight, I saw the smell. I saw all the ambiance of it. And then I went into the psychiatric area and I saw that and I thought, and it's that's, the environments that we create across different systems and hospitals and stuff. How is this environment impacting these people? So yeah, same thing. I was like, are other people seeing this? Is this
I'm
just
like,
me?
am I crazy? What is going on
Yeah,
here?
yeah,
It's the
yeah,
upside down world. Oh gosh. Okay, so we
yeah,
have four
yeah.
really good questions. Let's just answer them quickly. Okay, are you for
Sure,
you?
sure,
But
sure.
one person's asking is a really good question. How do I get comfortable with being uncomfortable throughout my tapering journey?
That is a fantastic, beautiful, beautiful question, which I feel like is it's at the crux of some of this.
Mhm.
Because when you can know that you feel discomfort and observe it as an experience, and every experience is going to come and every experience is going to go. No experience in your life has stayed forever. No feeling has stayed forever. That's the nature of human experience, is it's all the biggest fear people have, the number one scary thought that I see, and I'd love to hear what you think, was the biggest scariest thought that people have is, am I going to feel this way forever?
Forever. It's permanent.
And then then their mind is off to the races about, oh my gosh. So I love this question. This is at the heart of hopefully the support people will be getting in their process and in their journey, is this groundedness and the reminder of every human experience changes over time.
Mhm. Nothing is permanent.
Yeah, there is nothing that's permanent in life. Yes.
Yeah. I've never said this to anyone, but the reason I have mandala tattoos is because of impermanence.
Ah, beautiful.
It's just I am always reminded that everything is transient. The only permanency is change. That's it. But and anymore, I feel like, first of all, wait, what you said was the most scariest thought. To me, I see it as this hijacking. The brain gets hijacked. I don't know what that is, what phenomenon that is, but I see it across the board with every single drug. Doesn't matter who it is, how long they've been on. This is permanent. I'm never going to get better. I might have to go back on meds. Maybe I am mentally ill. I'm going to have to off myself. That is its own symptom, it seems. And we all, I'm unique in some way. I was on too long, or I was cold turkeyed, or like, there's something special about me. No, to me, that's its own symptom. But when it's a hijack like that, it's like, it's so hard to speak rationally to that, to insert anything in there. It's a matter of like, you got to ride that wave out. Do not listen to it, and just do whatever you got to do to get to the moment when it comes down again. But that's my number one job, is like talking people off that ledge constantly.
Mm-hmm.
It's permanent. No way. This is not going to change, Angie. I'm different. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, 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 no. But really the crux of that person's question is, how do we suffer? Because this is suffering, intense suffering.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Here's the next one. Um, what do you think about protracted people? What can help us? What can support us? It's tough. I think I have the only protracted support circle a lot out in the whole world. And it's hard, people, and I think it's almost worse. Let me just speak to them really quick, that it's worse when you're protracted, because we even have our own community saying like, you're not doing it right, or you're not taking certain things, or there's something else wrong with you. It's like, no, there's people on different spans of experience. Some have mild injuries, some have moderate, some have more severe. And we didn't do it to ourselves. We don't deserve to be gaslighted. Our physiology is the way it is. Even me at 8 years off, I still have some symptoms. They don't impact my life so much, but I'm definitely still feel it. I can feel the changes that have happened to me. So I think protracted people deserve a little care too. Yeah.
100,000%. And there's, I think there's, I can think of one person, she's taught me so much. There's such an incredible wisdom that you have. I can't help it always. And I've learned things from people in protracted withdrawal that have helped me with people who are in the earlier stages. And I've learned so much. So I have such a gratitude for the wisdom gained and gleaned by someone who's gone through it and is observing and aware of the effects and impacts. You, yeah. Yeah. And the same thing of like love and compassion in whatever form that looks like for each person, for wherever they're at in that whole phase and stage of their human existence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So this is my favorite question of the whole day. And I ask this of every single person I talk to. I like to end on hope. So what hope can you leave with people watching, people in the depths of it, or people just starting the tapering journey or healing? Like what, leave us with hope.
I think something, if you're here and listening to this, or if you found Angie, or if you found me, the blessing that is in itself, that whatever it was within you, that thing within you that has led you to support sources, that's like the best thing ever. I'm so thrilled for that part of you. I'm so happy, and what an amazing thing, because there's so many people who don't, it doesn't come up from within them, and somehow, or it hasn't yet. And so that thing that's pulling you towards sources of support and well-being and all of that, that thing is pulling you through, and it's going to continue to. Trust that. Trust whatever that is. Trust that thing within you that's pulling you toward resources of help, support, love, hope. I think, I mean, I feel hope for everybody, because we never know. We never know what kind of, and we never know what's going to pop up suddenly. Oh my gosh, we've discovered this thing. Oh my gosh, this, or oh my gosh, that, or oh look, the tide is changing in the whole social, community discussion about psych meds. And then also too, going back to the adage of what you said, nothing is permanent, and most were designed for healing. The world, life, and our bodies are designed for balance, well-being, and whatever that thing is within you that's driving you toward this and is pulling you. Fantastic. Just keep following that. Trust it. You can trust yourself. Trust yourself.
Trust, even if it's like it's not even under your belief or your control. The same thing you said in the beginning, whatever it is that's keeping you breathing, that's keeping you alive, that brought you to this moment, that is what's going to carry you through. It just does. I think that's love. I mean, that's the way I think about it.
Me too.
Love will carry you through. Okay.
Yeah.
I could cry. I could keep talking to you for another hour too, but I have to go get vehicle work done, so I better stop. But anyway, thank you, Dr. G. Can you tell everybody how to find you, where to follow you, all the things?
Yeah,
if you're
sure.
accepting new clients, all that.
Yep, we're accepting new clients. You can find me at True You Psychiatry and Wellness. It's www.trueyouPsych.com. Our website. You can call us, email us, put a chat in. And then, of course, Instagram is my personal, Dr. Jennifer Giordano, and then also True Psychiatry and Wellness. I'm sorry, I'm not like super
That's plenty.
social
It's
media.
perfect.
Like
Yeah. Me either.
I
It's
hope
hard.
we'll
We
get
work
better.
too much. Yeah, we work too much. And one more thing, can you say the states again that you're licensed in and that you have DEA in, so that people know if their state, if you serve their state?
Yes, licensed Michigan, New York, California, Virginia, Georgia, Arizona, Florida.
Perfect.
Yeah,
DEA in Michigan,
and DA is
right?
Michigan. Yeah.
Got it. So that means the benzos can be prescribed in Michigan, but not the other states. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Dr. G, for all that you do. I'm so happy for you to be on your own and to be free and to do what you love and to help so many people. Thank you, because I know you come very highly recommended from the people that I coach from a prescriber standpoint. So thank you for having an excellent, you listen to people. It's even not even that hard, but you know what I mean? And you're listening and you're loving and they're holding them and you're helping them. It's amazing. So thank you for
Oh,
all you do.
yeah, thank you so much. I'm so thrilled we could finally meet. I mean, for me,
Finally.
you've been like famous. Like you're like I'm
That's
meeting a
what you said in your
celebrity.
email. I was like, shut up, stop. But no, I should say
Yeah,
this really quick before
yeah.
we get off. It was so weird that I emailed you, but you had Instagrammed me, but I didn't get it. And then I emailed you separately and I was like, hi, I would love to talk to you now that you have your own practice, blah, 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 blah. Would you like to do an interview? And then you're like thinking that I was responding to your Instagram, but I hadn't even seen it. And I was like, whoa, we both messaged each other in the same day. We didn't even know it. It was so weird. But that's
Yeah.
the universe for you. That's how it goes. That's
It
how it goes when you're in
is.
tune. Oh my God, I love
So
it.
agree. So agree.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you
Thank you
everybody
so
for
much.
watching. Share this if you
Yeah.
found some benefit and put a comment below, and we'll see you next week. All right. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.